The thing about something like frozen shoulder in females, there is 100% a pattern. It can happen suddenly. Like for example, this woman, she's in a perimenopausal years, so starting to have these big fluctuations in hormones as they're changing. We know now that these changes don't only happen for us losing our menstrual cycle, but they actually have physical alterations in our brain. That's not me making that up. If you go and just Google this, I'm not sure of her name right now, the researcher, but she's done amazing work with black and white evidence through CT scans on how when women say, I'm losing my mind, I don't feel the same as I did in my 30s and my 20s, what's going on? Your brain is changing. Now it's not an excuse, but if you know, you can apply a strategy to help. With frozen shoulder, this is a rider in her 40s who suddenly, out of nowhere, developed frozen shoulder, and this nearly stopped her riding completely. Not because of a horse, not because of a poor training, just because no one thought to actually ask one critical question. What if the issue in her shoulder was actually to do with the stage of life that her body was in because of her hormonal age? This episode today is for all of those female riders who want to know everything about how to be a better horse rider. From the lens of a female, this is for you. This is not about motivation, not about being tougher, pushing through. This is about actually understanding what changes are going on inside the body of a female and why it matters so much in the saddle. This rider, 48 years old, I was asked to come and treat her horse. Watching them around the arena, I could see it. I could see the frustration, the rider's face said it all as well. And when she came in, she said, "Can you see the collection problem? He just cannot collect. Yesterday he was okay, today he feels really grumpy, doesn't want to do it, he's against my leg, the left rib cage feels so blocked. What is going on?" I kept quiet for a moment because I understand. It's such an expensive thing to own a horse, to manage a horse, to keep a horse. It's also bloody wonderful, but it comes at a huge cost of our time and expenses. So when things aren't going right, despite you as the owner doing everything right, ticking off every single box, the tack, the physio, the dentist, the farrier, the vet, everything that happens just for the basic management of an animal, of a horse, and you're still feeling this frustration, I get it. And the worst thing I would want anyone to feel is not understood. So I really believe in understanding the whole story and letting the owner know that I get it and that it's okay and that we're going to come up with a plan. I asked her, "What's going on with your left shoulder?" And she smiled and said, "Yeah, I've got some frozen shoulder. It's just come out of nowhere. I've been suffering with it for the last 3 months. I've been to different physios. I've had an MRI only to be told there's nothing wrong in the shoulder, nothing wrong in my neck, in my spine." So she went to physios, and this is where it all goes wrong. Not the physio fault, not the rider fault. When you have different experts working on the same body, whether it's for yourself or your horse, and they are not communicating, who's piggy in the middle? Who's the person left with confusion, frustration, overwhelm, spending money, and then ends up saying this doesn't work? You, the rider, the piggy in the middle. Now, that can easily be addressed by therapists, professionals talking together. That also means you, as the person who is seeking the advice, make sure that you say, "I want you to talk to my person." It's too, and any wonder why it gets a bit overwhelming when so many people get involved saying different things. For this rider's case, her physio said, "Stop doing the exercises that her other physio said because it was creating issues in other parts of the body." So she stopped, and I said, "Well, what are you doing now?" And she said, "Well, nothing." And I said, "Okay, doing nothing is still a choice, okay? Whether you're finding things a little bit overwhelming, whether you're struggling, still deciding to do nothing is a choice. The best thing we can do is get those physios together, get the expert who took the MRI together, and have a conversation so that the owner feels assured she has clarity on what to do. There is evidence to say that it can last between 9 up to 18 months. Now, if you're a rider and has a physical job, that can have a significant impact on your income. Your life can feel like it's been turned upside down. So this is a real thing that definitely needs support. Don't bury your head in the sand and don't blame anyone else. The key is to find the team that works together. What the research is showing with these fluctuations in hormones, this can affect your tendons, your joint lubrication, and even recovery. So these frozen shoulder issue can then suddenly appear with no trauma, okay? With quote unquote no reason, there is always a reason. The shoulder isn't failing. Your body isn't failing. It's losing support, and it's losing really key hormones that supported you through various stages until now. And again, it doesn't mean to give up, okay? We've got to find your team. This case isn't something in isolation, and this happens to female riders all around the world. Doesn't necessarily have to be something like frozen shoulder. I've seen it with women who have had maybe some falls in their younger years, and then the hips start to get really tight, like locked up. No matter how much yoga, Pilates they're doing, they're like, it's getting worse. How old are you? How are your hormones? How are your cycle? There's a pattern, there's a link emerging. Going back to this rider. Okay, I said, how's your shoulder? She said, yeah, this is what's going on. And she said, how come? And I said, when you're riding, you're collapsing and compressing down the left side of your body. Which side is your horse struggling with? The left. This isn't the rider's fault. However, if we don't ask these questions as therapists, as experts, no matter what you do to the horse is mirroring the rider. And if the rider is visibly asymmetric in her shoulders and compressed down to one side, that affects your balance in the seat, your leg aids. Of course, it's going to affect how your horse is moving. And then when we take that one step further into things like collection or higher movements in dressage, any wonder the horse is feeling it. Any wonder you as the rider are going, despite the money I'm spending, I'm not getting the results. So important to keep asking the question. I've seen this with shoulder, frozen shoulder. I've seen this with arthritic changes in the rider's hips or the rider's lower back. I don't know about you, but I see multiple women in their 50s, 60s now having either single and eventually double hip replacements, still riding. Again, how can this not affect your body? How can this not affect the horse? One of my lovely clients back in the UK has now had a double hip replacement, and through that transition period, before she went in, we had about 12 months, 1 year of pain. Every day she was in pain, and you could see every 3 months when I was treating her horse how different her posture was, how more hunched over she was, how much it was affecting the horse, because we had to limit what we had expectations of because of the rider's body. Now, the beautiful thing about her is that she had awareness and she wasn't burying her head in the sand. We came up with a plan to support her body through nutrition, through exercise, not compact impact exercises, through strength training, through using body weight, so that we can support the system, the muscles, the tendons, the ligaments, pre-operation. So when she had the hip done and then the second hip, the doctor said, my God, you have recovered so well. And it's because of the work we did before. Also, on that note, not only did we prep the rider's body, but we actually went into prepping the horse's body for the period of time that she would be out of action. If you want to know more information, comment the word below, send me a message. I have a horse and rider unique program called the Horse and Rider Reset. To find out more information, send me a message. This lady went through this process together, which meant that she came out of her operation so quickly, and they're now doing backup to medium level dressage. And the most important thing is she's not in pain at all. Doing research with the Female Rider Code, which is a book I've finished writing, it's being released this year in 2026. I've noticed a real pattern, which is actually across industry, not just the equestrian industry, but other sports industries as well, which is how a lot of equipment has been designed for the man and not the female. Now you see this changing in equestrian industry, you see this changing with saddles. We're now getting saddles for men and women, of course, makes so much sense, such different anatomy. We're getting period pants coming for women, amazing. We're getting stain-proof breeches or stain-proof jods, whatever you want to say, amazing, okay, those messes that happen. But why is no one talking about hormone stability? Why is no one talking about understanding your hormones, understanding the changes that go on in a woman's body from the ages of 20 to 50 plus? And some girls starting younger and younger with their periods nowadays. Why are we not talking about this? It's creating a lot of overwhelm, despite the amount of information online, despite the amount of things you can get for free now. We're actually getting more stressed. We're getting overloaded with our systems. A lot of women are suffering with things like burnout, unexplained pain, severe hormonal changes, bad periods, and skin breakouts, hair thinning, hair loss. The stress tolerance is shifting, and we seem to be becoming less resilient to stress because of this constant overloading our systems. If we do the same things, we're going to get the same result, and our bodies then become weaker. It's not broken, it's becoming weaker. And the most important thing is that you can have the awareness, and when you apply that awareness to a simple strategy that works for you, you can gain back your resilience to stress. You can actually become more stress resilient, which means you can take on more because you've learned how to lower your cortisol naturally without taking medication, without putting more stuff, toxins into your body. Now, as riders, which I truly believe is a really unique discipline in sport, because most sports are either in competition with themselves or in competition with another human being. Equestrian, you're in competition with other people yourself, but you're also working along refining and the art of becoming a horsewoman, a horseman, which you're dealing with another nervous system at the end of the day that is also reacting, responding to external environment, external cues, also has hormonal changes. Now, as riders, when we apply all those factors, and then we struggle with things like asymmetry, stability, fine motor control, the horse, as magnificent as they are, end up reflecting that back to us. Remember that the horses don't judge us, they just mirror. So when we feel that frustration, it's like you want to be like, just stop doing it. But in a way, because they're so good at mirroring that back to us, the real question we should be asking is, how are we today? What's our state today? The consequences of missing these dots, this dysregulated emotion, however that resonates with you, it's actually costing us time, money, and most importantly, the partnership that we want with our horse. What happens when this isn't addressed is that I've noticed in the younger years, the girls that have just started their menstrual cycle, if there's no support on period pants, how to support yourself during this phase, we have research to show that girls, when they first start bleeding, can have changes in things like their coordination, their stability, their orientation. Now that is affecting them on their own, never mind then having to ride a horse. So you might have a young girl that's really strong during the stages of when she first learns to ride to getting her period, versus then she starts her period, 3 or 4 years, she feels like weaker, she feels uncoordinated, and we are losing talented young riders during this phase when we could simply be giving them more support. We are losing riders to the lack of a gift. We're losing them to a lack of understanding. And in this day and age, that is not good enough. The same thing happens when women reach their perimenopausal years. Women are suffering with more anxiety. They are suddenly overwhelmed with almost like a decision fatigue, that they get to their horses. They are so stressed and on high cortisol that they end up losing the love that they have for riding because of these unexplained emotions, this dysregulation. We're losing talented women here. Women that create a lot of impact, have so much compassion and empathy, and all because there's no link to hormonal changes and what that effect that has in the saddle. This is why I'm doing this work. This is why I feel like I'm like the lone wolf at the moment. There's talk about hormonal changes, perimenopause, PCOS. I'm doing a little dance in the non-equestrian world, but there's nothing in the equestrian world yet until now. You have access to this YouTube episode. You have access to my book, The Female Rider Code. Spread the word. Spread the word. This is why I work so differently. I see 3 pillars. Understand the phase you're in, adjust the training instead of quitting, and supporting your nervous system, not just the muscles. So most of us know, oh, I have a rest day today. Oh, my muscles are a bit tired. But what about actually, I need to regulate the body, the mind right now, because I've had a lot of stuff happen, a lot of stress, kids, work, family. That doesn't mean having an off day, a rest day. It means actually getting rid of that stuff in your body so that you can reset and go again. And you get stronger and stronger the more you do that. This means that we'll have less riders leaving this amazing industry. This means we can have more adaptable, more resilient women not leave. Talented women not leaving the industry. If this story feels familiar or anything that I've said, it's not that you're broken. It's because no one gave you the insight, the tools, the knowledge, and the link that I shared with you today. If you haven't already, don't forget to join the Female Rider Code free school group, either in the link below or just type that into Google. You'll find us, share stories, community built on support. And if you have any questions specifically to how you feel like your changes are, hormonal changes are affecting your horse, message me, send me, or just drop a comment below.